Thank you for watching this short video. It's a heart reflection for today, and it's from the Cosmic Christ, and I would love to share it with you. Trust me and don't be afraid. I want you to view trials as exercises designed to develop your trust muscles. You live in the midst of fierce spiritual trials and battles, and fear is one of Satan's favorite weapons. When you start to feel afraid, affirm your trust in me. Speak out loud if circumstances permit. Resist the evil one in my name, and he will slink away from you. Refresh yourself in my holy presence. Speak or sing praises to me, and my face will shine radiantly upon you. Remember that there is no condemnation for those who belong to me. You have been judged not guilty for all eternity. Trust me, don't be afraid. For I am your strength, your song, and your salvation. And they were channeled by the Cosmic Christ for today. Many of us live in fear, but fear is an illusion, and it feeds off us. And because we are in the time of Christ consciousness, that's the Aquarian age, and it means Christ consciousness, heart consciousness, where we come to the Supreme in our heart, not in our head. And when you surrender your heart to the Supreme, to your loving God, you will be amazed at the wonderful gifts you will receive. You're not being blackmailed by God to surrender your heart, for you have free will, as I do, to say yes or no. And if we say yes, blessed be. And if we say no, then God will still love us. There will be no tantrums from God, only unconditional love. But today so many are locked in fear, understandably so, because of the crisis, the recession, where many are living in abject poverty. And it's so easy for religious leaders to get on their pulpit and start spouting like me, when they're not living from hand to mouth, where everything is provided for them. But for someone trying to rear a young family, and where one of the adults may have lost their job, and they're relying on a soup kitchen or a food bank, how degrading that must be for them. And it's true, we can become oblivious. Where I live here in this beautiful little village in Storrs, in the South Lakes, it's very much Antwacky, very much 1950s. There are lots of retired elderly people here who are very comfortable. Some are too comfortable. And with that comes a complacency and an indifference. And that sounds a judgment on my part, but I don't mean it to be. One of the reasons I'm a Franciscan is because of my love for St. Francis of Assisi. He came from an affluent family of cloth merchants, and he walked away from it. And he gave away all his fancy designer label clothes. He walked away from his inheritance, and he embraced Lady Poverty. He even wore the same clothes as the beggars, so that they didn't feel beholden to him in any way, or he to them. And his brothers who joined him, many of whom came from well-connected families, Some were barristers, well-learned men, but they turned their back on their wealth to embrace the marginalized. And today we have to hold our brothers and sisters in society and in different parts of the world where they just live from day to day, from one meal to the next, and in some cases they don't even have enough for bread. And when you look at the waste, the food waste mountains here in the West, it beggars belief, doesn't it? The scandal of food waste. When you see what some households of the rich throw out in food, it will break your heart. So I feel that today we each must become aware that whilst we may be comfortable, we must never become complacent, and we must tithe what we have to supporting our local Salvation Army. They do amazing work. Amazing work. And they are true disciples of Abraham's God. They give without counting the cost, and they live among the marginalized. And the lovely thing is they don't pontificate. So society holds them in high regard, as I do, because they give selflessly. Are you willing to give the same? Are you willing to step out of your comfort zone and share with those who have nothing? But for those who are afraid, I say this to you. Name your fear. Whatever your fear is, name it. Bless it because it's yours. And then release it immediately to God. And in your next in-breath, just say thank you to God for taking the burden from your heart and for providing for you your needs. God does not do want. We live in a society of want. People who are always wanting. People who are needy, but they must have the latest gadgets. How sad. Let us surrender our heart to a loving God. And let us place our trust in God's providence for us. God will provide for us. As night follows day, I give you my word. He provides. I only have to look back on my own life, and I see the hand of God delivering me from some pretty hell-raising or hair-raising situations. And when I was down on my luck through mental illness, and I lost everything, I could see the hand of God working slowly to empower me self-heal through a handful of exceptionally good friends who came into my life there and then and who accepted me as a child of God and who didn't condemn me. So I'm not preaching to the converted here. I'm saying that if you are living in fear, name it, bless it, release it to God. And in your next in-breath, just stand back and thank God for your deliverance. And if you have a specific need, name it, bless it, and release it to God with a prayer of gratitude. And God will answer your prayer when the time is right. So be still in the presence of God and know that you are loved as a child of God. Namaste.